All right, so it's Sunday, but I still think it's a good time to talk about this DPRK lore. Spent a little bit of time yesterday posting about this on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, based on a sample that was shared by malwarehunterteam, which is pretty cool. So the sample itself is not super interesting. It includes a Go backdoor, which that part of it is pretty interesting, but it's already been covered. Um, the thing that I enjoy the most about it is that it includes a Swift app to capture the user's credentials and then post that to Dropbox. If that sounds familiar, this is something that was covered again like back in February of this year. So a lot of reuse here, but that's fine. The lure is interesting. It looks pretty legit. So we're just gonna kind of walk through this, get the samples, look at them a little bit because again they've been covered, and just kind of like go through this. So this is an example of what a victim may see, right? So somehow we end up on this page. Maybe it's targeting through who knows what kind of application, but you end up here for this assessment. In this case, we're looking at the strategic advisor role at this multi-coin capital company. And we have 3 questions, a test. I guess there's 20 minutes here duration time to actually take it. I don't see a timer anywhere, but that's fine. Responsibilities, we're not going to read through all that stuff, but important role. So we're just going to continue. Requirements, of course, crypto, Web3, all that fun stuff, since that's what they like targeting. Okay, continue. We have 2 sections that are part of this test. Okay, so all this, we're just going through what you would expect, which again, looks pretty legit. Put in a bunch of stuff in here. A lot of work experience, of course. And just a bunch of tests. And yeah, I agree. Boom, boom, boom. Agree and start. Okay, so now we have these questions. We can click on solve. And I just added some here. In your view, which emerging theme or technology in crypto Web3? I have no idea. So no idea. How would you add value? That's a fun one as a researcher. I would add value. Share one example of how you have helped a startup. I did some stuff. Complete. Okay. So now, of course, we get this prompt of the camera being set up. Now we're in the video intro section of this. So if we request camera access, we'll get this. Obviously, like it's asking if I want to allow it. I don't want to allow it. So request camera access. Don't allow. It says to reload the page. Okay, so let's reload the page. Now let's click on it, and boom. Access to your camera or microphone is currently blocked. There's a race condition. Sounds pretty serious. In your camera discovery cache. Cool. So here's a solution. So this is click fix stuff for anyone that's not seen this already. Open up your terminal and look for open up your command, right, with command.space, and then this opens up Spotlight. Type in terminal. And then you're going to have to update these drivers, of course. So if you look at this, you'll see this is going to curl out. It's going to save whatever is downloaded to this directory, the var temp, and it's going to be a shell script. It comes from this domain, this URL. And then it chmods this shell script to add it executable bits so it can actually execute it, and then it just executes it. Cool. All right, so let's look at what this script does. So now we're gonna just kind of go away from this and look at this script, and it's in here. I already added this into a directory because I didn't want to spend too much time going over this, but okay, so it's long. We're not gonna talk about every single thing in here, but essentially it's going to use one of these URLs depending on your system, either ARM or Intel, and it's going to determine what kind of system you have, and then it's going to set this URL up for that download it, unzip it, Okay, which again just sets it up. And then we actually set up persistence, register this service, and this ends up being an executable. Here we can see that variable here for the executable. If we go up, that executable is referencing this file, this drivefixer.sh, which we'll look at really quickly. This will then be the plist path that will be used for the persistence, and then it runs this Chrome update alert, which is funny. This is actually from the naming of this app is what was seen back earlier this year. So they kept this comment, and the app itself is actually not called Chrome Update Alert. It's mediafixer.app, but that's fine. That doesn't really matter. Okay, so downloads this thing, unzips this thing, sets up persistence, and does what it needs to do. So let's get out of here. So we know that it's going to leverage this for the executable that's set up as the persistent item. So we can view that really quickly. Fixer. And what this does is pretty cool. So what it does is referencing the same directory, it actually runs go and passes the run argument and passes this drive.go as the argument to execute. So to continue from here, we have to look at that. So let's look at that. And this does a bunch more stuff that, again, this was covered already in a different blog post, so I won't spend too much time on it. The comments are interesting. This was seen also at the beginning of the year. Not sure what this, maybe this was some testing that they were doing, which is always fun to see. This is going to be the URL that was reported yesterday related to this. This is going to be like the C2 communication. So this is going to run this run DLL 5179 main, which then executes this. So we have the delay function, and we have, which is inside of this instance struct, and then inside the core we have this start first, which passes in this URL. So we can look at all these for fun. Let's start with instance. So let's go into instance and then check.go, and we'll see like this check dupe, right? Which we're not gonna spend too much time on this, but it's just checking for stuff and all that fun stuff. Get the PID. Okay, not too interested in that. We're gonna look at the core. So go back out, cd core, and then we were in the iter. Okay, so now we get into some interesting stuff here as well. And I believe, yeah. So we have this huge switch case related to information, file upload, file download, shell, and all that fun stuff, which again sets up, they commented out the change profile for Chrome, which is interesting. Yeah, so then this is going to set up the Stealer related stuff. It's going to show you what to download. Like each one of these is going to have its function defined, and just going to show you. It's seen before, but more Stealer stuff. Okay, so to talk about some of the targeting, right? Got this huge blob of information from one of the sites related to this. And started looking at different roles that they're targeting. So, as we would expect, based on what DPRK likes to target, similar to the role we saw here for this strategic advisor, we have like blockchain advisor, director of a bunch of stuff. Sounds really serious and important. Yeah, so investor, portfolio managers, vice president of business development. So a bunch of different roles that people may be applying for or are interested in, which again, that's part of this whole campaign. And different companies that I noticed, I think it was company name. So let's company name, and then there's probably a much better way of doing that, but okay. So I spoke about this one yesterday, this Algorand centrifuge. This one that we were just looking at is part of this multi-coin capital and then optimism foundation and all that. So again, that's what a victim would see is this lure. It ends up, installing this, which then runs other stuff in order to set persistence and create this like backdoor. I think it's pretty interesting from that perspective. But I did want to look at the Media Fixer app really quickly because I think it's pretty interesting how it does this. I actually blogged about this a while ago, but let me open up Binary Ninja here and talk about it really quickly. So let's look at this. So this is designed to capture the user credentials. All right, so just take a moment and take a look at this really quickly. I started editing a lot of this just to try to make sense of it as quickly as possible, but we have one of the password capture prompts. What it does is it uses an NS alert. This was covered before, but essentially this alert will pop up and display to the user. In this case, installer wants to make changes, and it asks you to enter your password. It actually grabs that as an NS, or it sets up this NS secure text field, and then it grabs that via this string value based on the return of whatever was entered there. And then this password captured is used later. It's actually passed, bridged to Objective-C, and then it's passed into this function, which again, we have different types of errors related to what was actually grabbed. So for example, this one is password can be empty. So it's going to give you a nice little alert saying, hey, this can be empty here, or the incorrect password, because it actually checks to make sure that your password is legit, which is pretty cool. It sets up a bunch of stuff. We're not going to get into all this stuff, but this is related to like getting the IP address of the system. It sets up this huge array of stuff in order to set up the Dropbox communication, and all this is passed inside of this. You can see this API.IP whatever, in order to get the IP of the machine, is initialized here, and then it's passed in as the URL object for this URL session. And then we have this function that is called within a block in order to handle the return value of that JSON object and make sure that it actually got the right IP address. So a bunch of stuff with this. Not going to spend too much time. There's another prompt related to Google Chrome accessing the camera, because if you remember, the lure is based on there being an issue with the camera or the microphone. I think there's a microphone related prompt in here. And then it just continues on doing a bunch of other stuff that has been covered. But if you're interested, you can kind of take a look at this. But this is like the password.txt file that it uses. Password.txt, which is going to be sent up to Dropbox using APIs. Okay, so just wanted to cover that a little bit. Again, this has already been seen. The most interesting things right now are these types of lures and how they're being leveraged. And just wanted to cover that really quickly because we're going to be seeing these a lot, I feel. And it's good for anyone that is in the job market to be aware of this type of threat, since they're targeting so many different types of roles for different make-believe or trying to be specific companies. Okay, well, that's it. It's the weekend. Don't want to spend too much more time on this. Hopefully that's helpful.